So this is an update video of a bench seat that I installed a few years ago. I had made a video of the way to install these seats on a C10. They're out of a 2014 to 2018 GMC or Chevy crew cab. They're the back seats out of a four-door crew cab truck. I've had them in here for about 3 years now. I was gonna just update. A lot of people were asking how you do the seat belts, if the seat belts still work, and they do. Use the original seat belts. I upgraded mine. I got these off of LMC. Mine weren't retracting anymore. But yeah, I've had it for 3 years. No issues. I don't take it on really long trips. Farthest I've driven it is for about an hour. But a lot of people were, talking about it's not a comfortable seat, but I mean, I've ridden in these seats for a long time. I don't have any issues with it. Seats fold forward. You got room in the back. I carry a couple ratchet straps in the back, some battery cables. I got a fire extinguisher. I got these 6x9 boxes that I got off a guy off of Facebook that sells them. Got the cup holder. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let me go over to the other side and I can give you guys some measurements, how far off they are off the floor, stuff like that. All right, so this is the passenger side. Show you the seatbelt locations real quick. The seatbelts do bolt in the factory locations. This is for your passenger side and for the middle seat. And this is for the middle seat male end, the driver's side female end. The seats do slide forward and backwards still, so it makes it really convenient for shorter drivers. I keep mine pointed to the back most of the time. From the floor, these seats measure about 10.5 to 10 inches, 11 inches maybe. So a lot lower profile than your stock seat. There is still room underneath. I got I carry some socket. This is like a socket set. But there is still a lot of room underneath the seat to stash stuff. A lot of people, I've seen other pictures, you can remove the headrests. They don't really bother me, so I just leave them on there. And the only thing that holds the seats from flipping forward is how tight you make it fit here. So how tight you weld the seat frames together is gonna give you more friction between the seats. That'll keep them from flopping forward when you stop really fast or something. But it's enough where you can pull them if you need to get to the back. But yeah, the seat belts, still work. I use this bench seat, because I got a kid. Wanted to ride around with more than one passenger. But yeah, there's a lot of seat colors available for these seats. You can use cloth seats. Black leather is probably the most common one I've seen. High countries are kind of you don't see them very often, but every once in a while, junkyards where I usually get them. Pay anywhere from $250 to $400 depending on the condition of the seat, whether they're leather, cloth. the color. You can use Denali seats. A lot of different options for different color interiors. And like I said, it does use the original seat rails off of the C10. The bottom seat bolts to the original seat rails. This is the handle on a 73 to 78 or 73 to 80, I believe. The adjustment handles here on the side of the seat. The 81 to 87s, the adjustment is here in the front. There's a little difference in the seat bracket on the newer seats, the 81 to 87 seat rails. The bracket is a little lower from the front, so you sometimes you got to put a little spacer to pick the front of the seat up so you don't feel like you're sliding off. These ones, there's really no modification to it on the 73 to 80 seat rails, but I have noticed on the 81s to 87s you do have to pick up the front of the seat a little bit to give you that angle to kind of lay back in the seat a little better. On this one, this seat is a little bit narrow. It's about 4 inches narrower than the stock seat, so that's about 1.5 to 2 inches on each side. So it's not 4 inches off of each side. It's 1.5 to 2 inches. You don't really notice the difference. This, because of the wider seat that it used to be on, this used to stick out about 1 inch farther. So what I did was I cut it, took 1 inch out, and I welded it back together so that this would be a little closer to the seat instead of having a big old gap. It used to sit about 1 inch farther away from the seat. So that's something that you can do very easily with a grinder and a welder. I got a seat that I'm working on over here. This is the bottom of the seat, and this has got the 81 to 87 seat rails on them, where the adjustment handles in between the legs. So this is what it looks like. The only thing you really need to do to these brackets, to the seat rails, you do have to drill this hole. The seat rails are a little bit longer, so you cut them, you drill a hole. Also, you have to cut this mounting bracket. You only use one on the back of the seat. This one you got to cut it just to make clearance. It's going to bolt up right here, and the other one's in the way of this tubing, so that's why you got to kind of clearance it. Let me show you how it fits. So you just put a nut on there to keep that secured. This one also. And this side, this is where you got to cut the bracket to fit up against the seat bottom. And this bracket, this is a 6-inch wide piece of metal, 3 inches by 6 inches. And then towards the top, you just weld a little bracket onto the seat. I welded a bolt onto the top. Welds aren't the greatest, but it works. The other thing you got to do, this is the bottom of this seat. So this is how it would sit in your truck. So you can see where these two little tabs are welded towards the bottom. That'll help pick it up from the front, because if you were to weld them up here on the top, the seat would sit down a little. It would cause you to slide down on the seat. To connect these two come apart when you take the seat apart. and you got to weld them together. So you get a piece of metal. The way I do it, I put a 1-inch piece of metal between these two to weld them together. So you it's like a 1-inch gap all the way around the back. And once you got that 1-inch gap spaced out between the two seat bottoms, then this one is about, I believe it's 4 inches. Just weld it up. And then along the back side of it, flip this over, you're gonna have this piece. You just use like a cardboard template and cut that out of metal, weld it in. You want to leave this little gap. That's where your seat belts are going to slide through. So you want to make sure you leave a gap there. Don't box that in all the way, because that is where your seat belts will slide in. But yeah, that's how you that's all the fabrication you got to do on the seat bottoms, is just these mounts on the front and on the back. Again, that's 6 inches by 3 inches. And this, you want to weld it as high up as you can. That way the back sits a little lower. That helps with the angle of the seat. Spray painting everything black makes it look a lot cleaner. A lot of people were asking about the gap between the seat and the door. This is the driver's side. It's not really that bad. Maybe about a hand's width, 4 or 5 inches. Don't really notice it. Also on the passenger side, the same thing. It's not a big gap. And the seat is centered with the steering wheel. Sits a little bit lower than the back window, so that the seat sits you a little bit lower, a couple inches than the stock seat. So these seats, depending on how you weld up the bracket, the seat is about 10.5 to 11 inches, depending on how you build your bracket. I wanted mine to be as low as possible. I'm about 5'11". Mine sit about 10 inches from the cab floor. I've got another truck here. I can show you how much a stock seat from the floor is about 14 inches. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's about 14 and a half inches. So you do sit, it does drop your seat, you know, good 4 or 5 inches from the original. So yeah, there's a little update, 3-year update of the seat. I think I am going to be switching to a black seat. I got an extra black seat. My interior is all black, so I'm going to be switching this brown seat for a black leather one. Redoing the dash right now. I've got Dakota digital gauges. So I'm kind of redoing my interior right now. Just a little work in progress. I think a black seat will look a little better in here instead of the brown one. But yeah, let me know if there's any other questions you guys got about the seats, how to install them. That's my 3-year update.